Well, hello there, everybody. It is Saturday, perfect day or evening or night, wherever you are watching the stream right now. Perfect day. 58 goes down in right around 30 minutes or so, although we think it's going to be a little longer till Phil Rowe and Gabe Green make the walk to the octagon. But until that point, we are going to chat with all of you guys because this is our UFC 258 pre-fight show Q&A. You all will dictate where we go, ask questions, give your thoughts on the event, the world of mixed martial arts, and we'll talk about it right here. I am Mike Heck, being joined by the Prince of Positivity, Alexander K. Lee. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm excited. I'm excited for this card. Second pay-per-view of the year. You know, not the most stacked show, maybe, but I think there's a lot of good competitive fights on there. Some fights rife for an upset. If anyone wants to take a look at the odds, there's some fights that could be some major upsets. So, yeah, I'm into it, and I think a really, really good title fight.
And of course, the producer extraordinaire on the ones and twos, Mr. E. Casey Leydon.
Oh,
let's see that.
Oh, I don't have my beautiful face. Just this guy. Here
There he is.
There I am.
looking like you got a few rounds in the sparring.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
Little Velcro burns all over me. This is good.
That's a new requirement now. That's a new requirement to work in the MMA media now, apparently.
So good. Three amateur fights. Yeah.
Yep.
There you go. Well, listen, for those watching right now, questions, thoughts, leave them in the chat.
Yes.
We will address them. We're probably going to go until like a little after 7 Eastern because we unfortunately had the unfortunate news. Jillian Robertson versus Miranda Maverick. That fight is now off the card. According to our own Stephen Morocco, who spoke to Dean Thomas, Jillian Robertson was ill, non-COVID related. She just wasn't feeling hot. So that fight is off the table. And hopefully Jillian feels better. Hopefully Miranda Maverick can get rebooked sooner rather than later. And that's it. So Gabe Green and Phil Rowe will be the first and only early prelim fight. And then we head to ESPN at 8 p.m. Eastern time. 4 fights: Chris Gutierrez versus Andre Ewell. And then we got Polyana Viana versus Mallory Martin, Diego Lima, and Bilal Muhammad. And then Rodolfo Vieira versus Anthony Hernandez before we get to the main card. So there you go. 10 fights since we've lost 2 fights in the last, 20 hours or so with Jim Miller and Bobby Green off the card. There you go.
Just passing the news.
Yep. Thank you, Joseph.
Ready to take some questions, gentlemen?
We should say again, though, we do not expect the fights to actually begin at 7 p.m. Eastern time. It's closer, probably to quarter after, maybe even 30 minutes past. So tune into the broadcast as you guys normally would. I'm just saying, don't be surprised. There's been a lot of delays in the past. Even when they have the 2 fight cards, there's always been kind of a delay. They kind of start 10, 15 minutes in. So just a heads up, everyone.
Yeah, so you get to spend a few more minutes with us because we're those kind of people. Yeah, so let's see what the peeps have to say, and we'll talk all things UFC 258. If Ian Heinisch wins, AK, will Kelvin Gastelum be cut from the UFC?
No, I can't imagine. Do we know Calvin's contract status? Do we know how many fights he has left on this current deal? Usually they bring it up before a fight, so has to be at least 2. I don't think this is his last fight. Will he just be straight up cut? No. I think the UFC likes him. He's a company man. He's kind of a homegrown UFC guy. Came to the Ultimate Fighter and became a contender the old-fashioned way. And was very young when he came on. I think when he joined the UFC, he must have been in his early 20s. He was really young when he was, because he was the youngest American cast member on the Ultimate Fighter ever, if I'm not mistaken. So we've seen him grow up right before our very eyes. No, they won't cut him. And I think as we talked about in some of our preview shows, look at the losses he's had. Some of them are very competitive. All of them against very, very tough competition. So no, even if it's like a first round knockout, something, I still think they give Gastelum another chance. He's not getting cut.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's some behind the scenes money issues or something we don't know about. But just based on just who Kelvin Gastelum is as a fighter, he absolutely should not be cut, regardless what happens tonight. But UFC is a strange place, though.
No, he's only 29 years old. That's so crazy. He's only 29. I feel like he's been fighting forever.
How many fights does he have in the UFC?
Again, like I said, he has been. He's again, it's all happened in front of us. That's why so much of his development has happened in front of us. It really feels like we've been watching him his entire career. So, again, youngest. I remember when young and surprised people in the Ultimate Fighter. Beat close fight, beat Uriah Hall, and surprised people won that show. So, yeah, he has a bit of a fan base. I don't see why the UFC would consider cutting ties, unless, as Casey said, there's a number they can't quite reach for his next contract.
Yeah, there's value to the Kelvin Gastelum name no matter what happens tonight. Now, if he loses to Ian Heinisch, which he very well could, that's a very interesting fight, especially with the style Ian brings to the table. If you watch the preview show, James Krause sort of went through what Ian Heinisch brings to the table that Kelvin may not be used to, or how that kind of goes against his game plan. But, even if he loses, Kelvin still has that name. You can use him to bring up and comers, but I guess you would say his chance to fight for a belt again is probably on the line tonight. If he loses to Ian Heinisch, probably won't see him back fighting for a title. But I don't think he gets cut.
That's fair,
yeah. I'm also interested in the Rodolfo Vieira versus Anthony Hernandez fight that is also in the prelims. Casey, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on this fight? Obviously, there's a lot of hype behind Vieira. He's still young in his career, but, I mean, the guy... Listen, he works out. You could just tell him on the scale. The guy works out. He's in pretty okay shape. And Anthony Hernandez is a tough-o for anybody. He's a scrapper, and if anyone's going to take a fight like this and be the underdog at this level, Anthony Hernandez is happy to be the Huckleberry. So what are your thoughts on this fight?
Honestly, this is one of those fights I actually don't know. I don't know very much about Fluffy, honestly, other than his nickname, and unfortunately his not so cool loss to Kevin Holland. It sucked for him. Was it Kevin Holland that got him?
Yeah.
And obviously he's a much better fighter than what we saw that night. He just got I think he got caught a knee to the sternum. And Rodolfo just seems to me like a very incredibly high level middleweight grappling prospect who just looks great off the bus. So if he gets a big win, I definitely, just because, dead serious, because of the way he looks, the UFC will push him, I think, pretty fast if he has a big win tonight. But he reminds me much like Costa, about the trash talk, how Costa just look at Costa like, God dang. I think Vieira has that kind of same look, and the UFC likes that. So, but honestly, I don't know too much about these gentlemen other than kind of their past credentials. But I think the UFC kind of booked this fight for Vieira to showcase him.
Yeah, Vieira, the second biggest favorite on the card, AK. Anthony Hernandez is not a pushover kind of guy. I mean, you saw what he did on the Contender Series. He absolutely destroyed Jordan Wright. And then he had the submission over Jun Young Park, and then the two finished losses to Marcus Perez and Kevin Holland. So, I mean, the guy's been in there. He's got a little experience. But I think, like, one thing that's being brought up a little bit that I've seen on Twitter is Vieira's a big guy. Like, he's a big 85er. So How much do you think, like, the recovery factor, getting down to that weight and trying to get the brain cells and everything working with the blood flow back up, how much of a factor do you think that plays into this fight? And is that, like, the biggest factor if you're looking at Anthony Hernandez getting a win here? Because, like Casey said, this seems like probably a Vieira showcase fight of some sort.
Yeah, with Vieira, it's funny. We really don't know what we have with him. Everyone knows amazing jiu-jitsu. Again, probably either the number one, probably easily one of the top three jiu-jitsu guys in the UFC right now, just in terms of BJJ credentials. Super deadly on the ground. I don't think he's ever gone to a decision. So this is a guy who finishes guys fast. We've seen powerful guys like him maybe wilt a little bit when they go the distance. So I don't know if that's Anthony Hernandez's game plan today. So I don't know. So this does look like a showcase fight for Vieira, but if Anthony Hernandez's team is smart and they've kind of scouted him out a bit, then they're gonna. I think if you watch them to try and get out of the first, test him out a little bit, that might mean a tentative game plan. But just going at this guy head on has not worked for anyone so far. I don't recommend it. He will pull guard. He'll fight off his back. He'll fight from top. He doesn't care, and he will submit you. So. I'm favoring Vieira here, but for sure, there's a lot of upset potential here. As I said, on this card, there's quite a few odds that are really out there, and I'm like, man, I don't know if they should have that much faith in some of these guys who have had maybe 2 or 3 UFC fights and are so heavily favored. So I really like Vieira. I'm a fan, but This is a test, and if it goes the distance, maybe lean towards Hernandez a little bit. Maybe we'll see. We'll see how complete Vieira is so far.
Yeah, I'm very interested in that. I'm just looking at Vieira's kind of MMA record, and all his finishes are actually very quick. Almost all of them are round 1, and there's 2 UFC finishes around 1 and 2. So if it's a big if, that's the tough part because obviously everyone wants to do it. If Fluffy can extend this fight and make it longer, and like Mike said, all those muscles, they take it takes a lot of oxygen to keep them pumped. And once those grapplers get tired, and if Fluffy can keep it standing, which I'm sure Vieira doesn't want it to be for an extended period of time, yeah, definitely that's Fluffy's path to victory. But just tire him out, dude. Yeah, it's just like much easier said than done.
So easy. Yeah. Don't let him grab you. Come on,
don't let him grab you, man.
Don't let him grab you.
Just keep your hands up, bro. Yeah, keep chin down, hands up. Come on.
Gosh, I wish I could be Anthony Hernandez's corner tonight. Yeah, get up,
Stand your feet.
get up,
Stand your feet.
Hit him.
It's an interesting fight. That's the featured prelim as well.
Yeah.
So that would be.
I actually do like that fight.
Yeah.
I feel like that. Were those? Oh no, Vieira, was he at the media day? They brought him to the virtual media day, right? I think they did.
I don't remember. I don't think so.
Actually, I didn't. Yeah, that's kind of weird. Actually, I feel like yeah, we'll see. But credit to Vieira, maybe Vieira's team. I don't know if the UFC is doing it or Vieira's team, but it seems like they are bringing up Vieira slowly. Even though Vieira is kind of at his prime athletically, he's like I think 31 or he's 31, so he should be hitting his prime athletically, but maybe not MMA prime. So taking their time.
Yeah, this is a good step up. He wins this fight, they give him a more known opponent for sure.
And a must.
Come on, people. Where are the questions?
Here we go.
Where are your questions, people? No, I'm not talking to you, Casey. I'm talking about the readers. I see a lot of comments. I don't see a lot of questions.
AK, what happened with Bobby Green? You know the answer to this. Explain.
I mean, I kind of know the answer. We don't know exactly. We have what Bobby Green said. So, scary moment at first where him and Jim, well, not scary, strange moment. Him and Jim Miller didn't show up to the stare downs. Jose was on site, remarked it to me right away. I actually didn't notice. I was just kind of watching. I'm like, oh, okay, here's what's happening. And Jose mentioned right away, he's like, Jim Miller and Bobby Green didn't show up. And I'm like, oh, geez. So Dana White did a scrum right after. He was asked, and he just kind of says, oh, yeah, Bobby Green collapsed. Without providing much detail. And again, I'm not blaming Dana White. That's probably all he knew. Dana White. It's not Dana White's job to play a doctor there. He was probably just told what happened. There's no other information. And then Bobby Green himself kind of released a statement later saying some issue with kidneys. His kidneys failed. So obviously a weight cut thing. And he thought it was just back problems. So that's kind of scary. He thought he was just having back problems. And it turned out it was actually a kidney failure. So thank goodness. I don't know. Maybe the collapsing was a good thing because obviously it made him go through another series of medical checks, and he was clearly not fit to compete. So imagine if he just tried to kind of fight through this pain. I don't know what would happen to him. So yeah, hopefully Bobby Green's all right. But yeah, some sort of kidney issue, very likely tied to the weight cut.
Yeah, he did imply it was all weight cut related. And to note, Bobby Green came at essentially the last moment of the 2-hour window, right? From what I recall. He came in toward he was the last fighter.
He was. There was like 15 minutes left. The whole show, the whole people don't go back and watch the weigh-in live stream because the whole show, he was one of the last 2 guys to weigh in, and I must have said this 10 times. I was like, nothing to worry about with Bobby Green. He's a veteran. He's weighed in so many times. I'm sure he's just taking stuff. I've seen Bobby Green be the last person to weigh in before. It's no big deal. And I was just trying, and I said this many, many times. Clearly, I was wrong. Again, I am not a doctor. And it was a bit tougher than I expected.
All right. This fight was put together on like 8 days notice, maybe 9. Like it came together really, really quickly. Why the hell is this fight at 55?
This kills me.
A catch weight?
Why are we still doing this? We're in this stupid Groundhog's Day as far as like, just if these short notice fights, we know weight cuts are super dangerous. Make it a dang catch weight. We know Bobby Green and Jim Miller have made 155 pounds dozens of times by now. They're not. Neither are going to have an advantage if they come in at 160, especially at short notice or something. So, zero reason for this. Zero reason for this.
It is so silly. Brian Kelleher has got it figured out. Brian Kelleher has done nothing but has he competed at 135 since the pandemic started? He's taken all 145-pound fights, right?
Either 40 or 45.
40 or 45.
Yeah. Brian Kelleher knows what he's doing. He's kept a regular schedule. He fought, I think, 3 or 4 times in 2020, and he's look, we all know he's a bantamweight. He knows he's a bantamweight, but there's no reason to fight a bantamweight right now. And he's fighting other bantamweights who are Cody Stamann, Ricky Simone, who are like, yes, why are we cutting as we normally would under such difficult circumstances? So I don't know. He's right. It's frustrating to see. I wish the managers and the UFC matchmakers themselves would just be more creative and insistent on, let's do 165, 170. Why does it matter if they fight at their most extreme weight that they can get to? It's so silly.
I remember saying this at the very beginning of the pandemic. It's like, unless it's a title fight or maybe a number one contenders fight, there's no reason for these guys. We know we know we're in unique circumstances. These are unprecedented times, uncertain times. Give them extra 5 pounds. No one gives a crap.
Yeah, it's not the only one. Like you said, Simone and Kelleher is up an entire weight class. Andre Ewell and Chris Gutierrez is a catchweight at 140. I love Jim Miller and Bobby Green. These are two wily veterans of the sport, and they've been around doing the thing for a long time. But none of these guys aren't title contenders. They're not even in the top 15. They're people we just love watching fight. We just love watching.
We know them. We want to fight. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think they would complain. I don't think they would complain if their manager or the UFC said, hey, you want to take this at 160, 165 instead? I'm sure they're both prideful guys. Again, they've made weight so many times that they think they can do it. But if someone said, hey, you want another 5-10 pounds to play around with? They'd both be like, yeah, of course. Let's do it. I'd love to.
I don't get it. All right.
Oops. That's good. Y'all really think Barber will beat Grasso? From Alan Grant, wonderful scientist from Jurassic Park.
Big MMA fan, loves dinosaurs.
Huge MMA fan. I will say, by the way, we do our picks. I'm picking Alexa Grasso to win this fight. And I think I spoke about this on the weigh-in show. I just feel like when you have fights that are this close, and I think it's a very competitive fight, and it's lined exactly right. Right now, it's minus 105 on each. It's a complete pick 'em.
Yeah, it's pick 'em.
And my deciding factor is who's had the more pivotal experience. And if you look at Alexa Grasso's resume, she has fought the who's who along the way up 115. I mean, her strength of schedule, and this is no disrespect to Maycee Barber, she's so young in the game, and she's only been in the UFC for a cup of coffee at this point. Roxanne Modafferi is her toughest opposition to this point. I mean, Jillian Robertson's tough too, but look at who Alexa Grasso has fought. She's fought champions, title contenders, top 5 women. She's been competitive with mostly all of them. I mean, she got finished by Tatiana Suarez, but her last fight at 115 was against Carla Esparza, and 90% of the people out there thought Alexa Grasso won that fight. So I feel like she's had the tougher road, she's had the tougher competition, and I feel like all the pressure here is on Maycee Barber in a strange way, especially with the time off. But I love the matchup. It's great matchmaking, but if you get a coin flip, I always go with the one with the better experience. Where are you at, AK?
Yeah, I'm picking Grasso. So I don't. This is kind of a weird. The way it's phrased is I don't know if we said we were. And again, and this is not to say Barber doesn't have a chance. Like you said, Mike, the odds are even. And there's a good reason for that. It's been a year since Barber fought. She can be completely different from the last time we saw her. Yes, a lot of that time off was injury rehab. Of course, everyone dealing with the pandemic, so not being able to train and necessarily want to book fights. But it has been a year, and presumably there's been years of growth, training, advanced techniques, all that sort of thing in that time. So there's definitely a good reason to pick Barber. But yes, based on what we know, trying to kind of taking intangibles out of the equation, yes, I'm leaning towards Grasso as well. So. So I don't know if Dr. Alan Grant here is suggesting that wants to explain why Barber can win. I mean, look, Barber has really good ground and pound. She's really aggressive. She could definitely take someone like Grasso off guard. Grasso has occasionally had fights where she's had trouble pulling the trigger, despite the fact that she's really, really solid striker. Sometimes you miss those openings, and then if you find someone as aggressive as Barber, it doesn't work out great for you. But I'm picking Grasso. Do I think that Barber can win? Yes, this is a coin tossing. There's no way whoever wins, we're going to be like, oh, I can't believe Barber won, or I can't believe Grasso won. No, it's a pretty even matchup. Yeah. Casey, make sure we get that question from, I think it's Rich P Top Tier about the MMA media amateur thing later.
I knew it was coming at some point.
Well, we'll see. I might be more than one person asking.
You think Dana and the UFC are looking to push Maycee Barber for title contention, given the fact that she has star potential? Casey, kind of going to this matchup, I thought that for a while, okay? Even in the Boston card, it was all about Maycee Barber becoming the youngest champion in UFC history. That was a big thing. She has the countdown on her phone and all that stuff, and then she loses to Roxy. To have her bounce back after a year against Alexa Grasso, seems like a dangerous fight to me. And Alexa is a super talented fighter. I think now that she doesn't have to cut to 115 is huge for her. But as much as her experience factors into this fight, she has not fought anybody with the pop and the power that Macy Barber has. That can change this fight very quickly. What are your thoughts on the fight and how the UFC sort of views Macy Barber at this point?
I'm picking Grasso basically for the same reasons you gentlemen did. I'm a big fan of Grasso, and I think she's 125 is a great fit, and she is definitely just an incredible. She's actually, I think, the best boxer in the 25 division. But the comment about is Dana and UFC looking to push Macy as a title contender? Absolutely. If she beats Grasso and maybe gets one more victory, maybe say over like a Calderwood or someone like that, she could potentially have a chance to beat John Jones' record. So absolutely, the UFC would love that. They need a storyline to sell Shevchenko pay-per-views and stuff and things like that. So yeah, but I also think that the UFC does like Grasso a lot too, and if Grasso gets an incredible, impressive victory too, why she won't break any records. Just having Grasso up in the top tier of the UFC lady flyweights, I think it's just good for business. So I think the UFC
it's a really good fight.
I think UFC is a win-win promotional wise. It's a win-win for them in this fight, and that's why this is actually a great matchup because it wins for everyone: the fighters, the fans, and the promoters.
And let's keep this in mind too. I mean, both of these ladies are relatively young in their careers and in age and such. But if Macy Barber goes out there and loses tonight, I don't want to go on Twitter and be like, "Oh, Macy Barber sucks. She's, the UFC shoved her down our throats and she's not good." She's 22 years old. She's just getting better. Yeah. This is a big fight for her. This is a big fight coming off that layoff, the injury, the loss to Roxanne Modafferi. There's a lot riding on her at such a young age. So let's kind of keep that in perspective regardless of what happens tonight.
I'm super curious on this fight because I've never been on the Macy Barber's going to be the next big thing train yet. I mean, obviously she's a talented fighter, but I just didn't see it, to be honest. And if she does do what Macy Barber thinks she can do, or what Macy Barber fans think that she can do to Grasso, that will be incredibly impressive. And if she does beat Grasso impressively tonight, yeah, she absolutely, the hype is real, basically. And then maybe the Roxy loss was just a kind of a fluke knee injury then. Who knows?
She is a finishing machine, and that's very rare in these divisions. So,
all right, next question.
Was Ricky Simón versus Brian Kelleher the right fight to put on the pay-per-view card? AK, we will begin with you with this question. What are your thoughts on this fight getting the bump?
Look, I like the matchup, and I guess that friggin' crystal power, that you guys are always stuck. This is the second time that that a fight has fallen out, and Brian Kelleher has got to bump up to the pay-per-view main card. If he ends up getting another bonus, maybe. Oh, good. Casey's gone. Okay. Oh, he's still here. If he ends up getting another bonus, then I guess that there is some credence, to this. Oh, this Tiger's Eye. Thank goodness. Oh my gosh. Thank goodness Jose isn't here, because I guarantee Jose would have started this show. No, Jessica. We know what Jessica's going to say.
Are you feel it? I'm
Jose would have started this show talking about Kelleher getting the bump up to the main card, probably guaranteeing a fight of the night, a performance of the night bonus. We will see. But it was definitely the right choice. I'm just looking at the options we had here. I think it was wise to keep Vieira and Hernandez as the featured prelim, as it were. Part of me kind of would have liked to see Bilal Muhammad get the nod. The guy's won 3 straight. He's won 7 of 8. He's been campaigning for a higher profile opponent, which he did not get. So maybe it would have been nice if he, to at least give him a higher profile spot. But a lot of fighters will not complain about being on ESPN. The prelims outside of the earliest fight are on ESPN and ESPN Plus. So that's kind of a nice place to be too. So I think it was the right fight. But you could, again, I would have gone with Simón Kelleher or Muhammad Lima. Either way, I think you're getting a competitive fight and one that's the guys deserve it.
Casey, the lines on this fight. Ricky Simón, pretty sizable favorite here. -250, comeback on Brian Kelleher, +230. Is this line correctly in your opinion?
Yeah, I would think it's about right.
Yeah,
that sounds right. If Kelleher wins the fight, no, I don't think anyone's gonna be shocked, but it will be a slight upset, and because the lines don't account for crystals.
Crystals versus mullets. This is
I want to
big.
say the views of Casey and Jose do not reflect the views of MMA Fighting or SB Nation or Vox Media.
Oh, sorry. You muted yourself. AK, sorry. Something must be wrong with your mic, AK. It's unfortunate.
Damn it! I checked my thing. I thought I pulled my headphones out.
Listen, if you decide to get into that crystal life, we are not responsible. We are not legally responsible. I mean, look, you can DM Casey, you can DM Jose, whoever else from our site buys into that BS. I know Pizza Carol's out there somewhere in the wild, still promoting that crystal life. God bless Pizza, I love him, but no, I do not support crystals. And again, MMA.com, Nation, Media, we're not left with what happens if you get a crystal and then go out and do some dumb stuff. All right.
Yeah.
Damn.
So it's kind of the same question. People kind of wondering, I do feel like this. I do feel like on paper this was the fight to bring up to the main card, but you have to kind of realize also the UFC is a business. They need to sell pay-per-views. I think the actual UFC maybe the UFC actually thought this was a better fight, Muhammad versus Lima, and they thought that would entice more people to buy pay-per-views. They don't actually put the best fight on the pay-per-view because that's not why you're going to buy the pay-per-view, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't take it as too much disrespect to Muhammad or Lima for not being bumped up. And like I said,
it's fine. I mean,
the money does not change. The money does not change for these fighters either. They don't get a bump up. They don't get extra sponsorship money. It all stays the same. So for them, No.
Hey, did we have the question about the three amateur fights? Should I just bring it up?
Yeah, bring it up.
It's way down. It's way down now. But I think the user, Rich P Top Tier, I think was the user, and they were so anyone who doesn't know, Cub Swanson put out a tweet. This was yesterday on Friday.
Yesterday,
I think. Yes, on Friday, about saying I think all journalists should have 3 amateur fights, which I think it's a funny comment. I'm sure he just read something that maybe he didn't agree with, and he has a take on it. He has a take on, and I think a lot of fans often ask, and rightfully so, ask a question like, where does the credibility from a lot of people in the MMA media come from? What qualifies them? And for the most part, we're fans. I'll speak for myself, anyway. We're fans just like you. A lot of people in the MMA media train, I should say. I'm not one of them. I'm too delicate. My face is too beautiful. I wouldn't put it at risk. But our own Casey Leydon, as you can see, thank you, Rich P. There you go, Rich P. Top Tier. Our own Casey Leydon, you can see he's a little bit marked up because look. He took Cubs challenge. All right, this man is out there. That might be from the streets. I don't even know if that's an amateur fight. I think he just went out. I think because he just went out and picked a fight after you saw that. I think your pride stemmed out and you picked a fight.
I'm the living embodiment of street beefs. I am street.
But I will say, one of our colleagues, Amy Kaplan, I thought had a funny response. She said, "Well, I think all fighters then maybe should take a journalism course or something," which is obviously a kind of flippant response, but it's kind of the same idea. Look, we get criticized all the time by fighters and everyone. And I think most of us have at least some sort of educational background in journalism or writing. And, again, so I think it's funny what Cubs said. And I do think it would be better if everyone did some sort of I've done a little bit of training in my life, nothing extensive. So maybe it would be better, but I don't think it's a requirement. But I don't think there's anything wrong with Cubs suggesting it. Obviously, I understand where he's coming from. He's a very thoughtful guy. And he wouldn't just tweet something like that just to instigate. It's true. He does wonder how much higher would the quality of coverage be if there was just a little more hands-on experience.
I want to point that out too, because if you go inside the thread, you actually see Cub go, okay, I think maybe people misinterpreted this. I wasn't trying to hate on the media. Actually, I think all of us probably have interviewed Cub a couple of times and talked to him on and off the record. Cub probably just, the other day we were talking about the nicest fighters or something, or fighters, the most beloved fighters. Actually, I think one we may have forgotten was Cub Swanson. Everyone loves Cub Swanson. He's just on that list too, media, fans, fighters, and he was actually just saying. I think some journalists took it. They got really defensive, which whatever. And I took it defensively at first, but then I kind of looked at it. And all Cub was really saying was, this is just a good opportunity for journalists to really understand more the just emotional ups and downs of training for a fight, the fight week, and all that things that go into it. And I completely agree. But training for 3 amateur fights, and working a full-time job, that's tough. I still don't know how pro fighters can really do this and fight and train and fight at a high level and still have a day job. That's freaking ridiculous. But wait, what's your?
All right, shout out to Mike Jackson. Shout out to Mike Jackson, by the way. journalist,
Yes.
journalist MMA fighter.
Absolutely.
Mike Jackson.
So here was kind of my take on the whole thing, because one mistake people make in this sport from time to time, and maybe it's fighters towards journalism, and maybe it's journalists or fans towards fighters. It is a very dangerous game when you paint everybody in a circle with the same brush. It is not fair to do that. Like, we cover the sport, I feel, the correct way. But there are people out there who claim to be journalists that will have a big following on Twitter, that maybe will break the occasional story from time to time, and people are just like, that's a journalist. This is a reporter. Even though half the times they're wrong or they piggyback somebody else's report, they are not they're not doing what we are doing, okay? They're not telling the same stories of the fighters that we're telling. And then their opinions, like, they'll sit there and and they'll just shit on fighters. Like, they'll just go out there and bash fighters and like tell them what they should have done better. This guy sucks. This guy's awful. Whatever. Like, we don't do that. And to compare us to them is not fair. It's not the same thing. It just isn't. So I get where Cub's coming from. There are people out there who are in this space that are writing columns and giving their opinions that just is not the way to do it. It's not sports-like. It's not sportsman-like or sportswoman-like. It's not the way journalism is supposed to be done. Like, you're supposed to be unbiased. You can have your opinions on certain things, but to sit there and say, like, this fighter sucks and this fighter's awful, and that's not fair. And I think that might be what, like, Cub and some of the other fighters are talking about. Just, you can have your opinion, but if you don't know what you're talking about, if you break it down like that and you want to come out and say a fighter sucks, you should probably know what you're talking about. You should probably be in the gym. You should probably get punched in the face doing a sparring thing. Like, I think those are the people that we're talking about. I don't remember ever fighter bashing ever. And I think that's what they're talking about. There are people covering the space that bash fighters and do those things. It's not fair to compare everybody the same way. And I don't think Cub was trying to do that, but man, this thing took off. We're starting like we can't get a lightweight tournament in the UFC going, but everyone's seeing MMA media tournament. People want to see me fight Jed Meshew. Someone was on Twitter was like, Jed Meshew versus Mike Heck in a fist fight. Come on now. Jed will have me beat before I get into the cage. He'll just run his mouth and do videos and talk all sorts of garbage. I'll be shook. I won't know what to do.
Yeah, you don't want none of that.
But I will say, I mean, originally, like, why I did get more serious into training, because I'm kind of actually a rare bird in this MMA media world, because I got into this industry and I wasn't an MMA fan at all. I didn't know anything about it. I was strictly, I knew how to put stories together. Like, I was doing like countdown shows for promotions and things like that. So but I did start, but I wanted to know more. I wanted to know, okay, when Joe Rogan says this is tiring, that all that stuff in the cage is tiring. All right, let's see if it's tiring. And no, I went out and did it. I was like, holy crap, that is an understatement. Things like that. So fighting 3 times is that, I know what Cub was trying to say, a bit over the top, but yeah, just having some sort. Every media member needs to just have empathy and understand what the fighters are going through, and but everyone else too. They need a little empathy for the promoters, for the matchmakers, for everyone involved, the cornermen. It's like it's nothing. It's like James Krause said on our preview show, like about Usman. It's freaking really hard to do what Usman does. Like, I think people just forget how incredibly difficult even the worst fighter in the UFC, even though whatever you think is the worst fighter in the UFC or Bellator or whatever, it still takes an incredible amount of skill and dedication just to get to that point. Like, the worst fighter, the worst baseball player is still 100 times better than you ever were. Things like that. So maybe not Mike.
Casey, you lost me at empathy. Oh. Empathy and MMA? Come on, soy boy.
Soy boy, yeah.
Empathy. Next, you're going to be talking about deserves. Oh, this fighter deserves something. Get out of here.
That's the spirit. That's the spirit.
Empathy in MMA. Oh my goodness.
Hey, listen. By the way, good on Cub Swanson, man. He got people talking. That was an appropriately timed tweet, and everyone took off it. It just took off. It was very thoughtful.
Yeah. It was very thoughtful and has always been good with the media. So if anyone's going to say something like that, he has earned that.
Right.
Yes, I love Cub Swanson. I got to try to get him on What the Heck so we could talk about this a little bit more. Get him on again and talk about this. I just want to pick his brain a little more. You can only get so much out in 280 characters trying to explain what you're talking about.
Thank you for the question, Rich. Hopefully, I don't know if he stuck around. I don't see him commenting. Thanks for the question, Rich.
Well, we're at that time. Do we want to just wrap it?
Keep going.
Fire? Okay.
Definitely do a couple. The fights are not starting. The fights are not starting.
10 minutes.
I don't have anything. I don't have a monitor on, so I don't know. They're not walking out or anything like that.
No, they're not starting.
All right.
Our guy Jose Youngs, who just arrived at the venue, said he's been told 4:20 Pacific time will be the first walk.
4:20. What? So Brian Keller's fighting? Hey.
So we can go like another 10 minutes.
We go. Okay.
We'll,
all right.
Give you some time.
You know what? Here, hold on. Let me change this. Boom. 4:20. Here we go. We got 15. Hey. All right. Next question.
Casey should fight Megan Levy.
Yeah.
Why?
Oh, dude, I could totally. No. She could kick my ass.
I don't know.
She's her little tiny fist, and it's like, spit my guard. Yeah. No way, Brandon.
She's definitely trained. She definitely worked with Joe B.
I have good healthcare with Vox Media, so we'll talk. Send me some numbers.
There you go.
BTC, cut the check.
Yeah, cut the check.
How long until Usman versus Gilbert fight? What's it? 7:06 right now. I would say 5 hours and 24 minutes would be around there. I'll say 12:30 Eastern time. These two guys make the walk because there's some competitive matchups. I don't see a ton of finishes on the main card, so could be waiting around for a little while.
Here's what we need to talk about.
Do you think Kamaru Usman will ever be appreciated by fans, even if he continues to rack up wins as the welterweight champion? This is a very interesting topic because, AK, if Kamaru Usman wins tonight, he dethrones George St. Pierre as the longest winning streak in the welterweight division, which there have been some big names in this division over the years. GSP, many consider as the greatest fighter of all time, depending on how you sort of view that list. So do you think fans will eventually get to that level where Usman is appreciated by everybody?
Yeah, I don't see why not. Look, it certainly takes the right. First step is always usually takes the right opponents. A good feud helps. So the Covington fight was a good start. I mean, that was a really big fight. I think Usman gained a lot of popularity off of that. So much so that he's like maybe one of the bigger stars in the UFC. Well, maybe not, but I don't know. I don't know if he's unappreciated. There's certainly some. I don't think he's disliked. Maybe there's a little bit of apathy. I think we're seeing some of that ahead of this card. Of course, we have one of the major storylines we've said is like, in the wake of a Conor McGregor pay-per-view, 257, which wasn't that long ago, there just doesn't seem to be a lot of buzz around this. But I think if you ask, I would imagine the majority of fans would give you a positive comment if you ask about Usman. Will he ever become a fan favorite like a Robbie Lawler? You know what I mean? Obviously when he became welterweight champion, it was such a big story. Everyone was so happy for him. It's hard. It's hard, but winning does solve everything. It helps that the performances are more exciting. I know the Masvidal win, didn't really light people's hair on fire, but this is an easy yes for me. Do I think he'll ever be appreciated? Yeah, I think he will be. It might be in retrospect. We've seen this happen with some champions before, where they lose the title and then like a year later, another champion maybe they like even less comes along and say, man, that Usman. He was a real champion, So it might happen in retrospect, but will he ever be appreciated? Yes, in one form or another, whether it's in his prime as he continues to rack up wins or later on, people say, man, that, look back on his record, what a start to his career, how many defenses he had. So yeah, easy yes for me.
I'm going an easy no.
Interesting.
Oh, well, screw you, Casey.
When you say fans, I really think there are different groups of fans. There are fans who say they loved Mighty Mouse when Mighty Mouse had his run in the UFC. But man, if we go back and look at the comments and the hype for Mighty Mouse fights, it wasn't there. People were just complaining. And the fact that wait, are you serious that if Usman wins tonight, does he tie or beat GSP's record?
Beats it. They're tied now.
That is insane. That to me, it's why this is why fans don't appreciate him, because Dana White, the promoter, came and did a scrum yesterday for 10 minutes in front of the media, and he didn't go, dude, Kamaru Usman is one win away from being the greatest welterweight ever in UFC history. That is unbelievable. And you can watch it tomorrow for only $70, or something like that. Like he did not sell Kamaru Usman at all, and that's just unfortunate. That is literally his job as a promoter, to promote his champion, and I just see very little promotion from him. And really nailing when Stipe got the when he got the heavyweight, when he won like 4 times or 3 times in a row, that was like a big deal. He is now the baddest man ever on the planet because of how many wins. And yet this marquee division, the welterweight division, Usman's 1 win away from kind of, at least numbers wise, being the greatest welterweight champion ever in the UFC history. And this unfortunately will probably go down as at least pay-per-view wise, maybe the card's gonna be great, but pay-per-view wise, we all know this isn't a big card. You know, this isn't trending big. This isn't bringing Khabib out of retirement. You know, so until Dana and the UFC promotional machine pushes Usman down the throat as like how good he is and just showed the numbers, showed the stats, I think he's gonna be very underappreciated because Usman just isn't a knockout guy. He's just he fights smart, he gets wins, but he's not Robbie Lawler. He just doesn't have that style, and that's okay.
Something to keep in mind, though, is that not all wins are created equal, and GSP's 10 wins, 10 of those wins, 9 of those wins, 9, 10, they were title fights. So, and again, look, we've said before, these things are kind of out of fighters' control. Maybe Usman should have gotten a title shot sooner. Maybe he could be on his 4th or 5th title defense now. I don't know. You'd have to kind of look back at the history. So it's kind of unfair to say, well, Usman's 12-fight win streak is only two title defenses, while GSP's was 10. So in that sense, if we're being realistic, the streaks are not equal. But at the same time, you're right. When has that ever stopped Dana White from selling something? And this was the perfect time.
It's a layup, yeah, for him.
To just say, because factually, this is the longest win streak any UFC welterweight has ever had. It is a longer win streak than George ever had. That's it. That's what you're telling to the casual viewer. Hardcore fans can nitpick all they want. Again, and us in the media can nitpick all we want. But the fact is, 13 consecutive wins will set the record. And it is a shame that wasn't pushed harder.
When Kamaru Usman beat Alexander Yakovlev, I think it was in like the summer of 2016, I was hosting a podcast at the time, and I said into a live microphone that within the next 3 years, Kamaru Usman will be the welterweight champion of the world. I knew then, and then I talked to him, and I was convinced even more, just because he's the same guy. He's confident, but he's also learning along the way. He knew he was still even at this point in the UFC, he was still very green. He didn't have a lot of combat sports. I mean, he's a wrestler, but he got into things late, and he was so talented from his wrestling ability, from an athletic standpoint, that he picked things up real quick. So when he beat Yakovlev, he goes, I'm not saying this to be a jerk, but I'm only 40% of how good I'm going to be. He goes, I know that sounds conceited and stuff, but and I believed him when he said that. And Usman at this point in his career reminds me of 2 other guys who were dominant champions, who had good runs, who could be Hall of Famers, who will definitely be Hall of Famers, that didn't get appreciation until later on in their careers. One, Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier did not get appreciation. People didn't start, and he was the nicest guy ever. But it took after the second John Jones loss, winning another fight, and then even winning the second belts. That's when people finally got on board. They're like, hey, DC, he's a good guy. Let's follow along him. He's a good fighter. And the other one, Habib Nurmagomedov was just running through. Habib Nurmagomedov, he wasn't getting the appreciation that he gets now. Now he's the unbeatable champion. This whole narrative of 2021 for the UFC is, can we get Habib back? Can we find him the right matchup? That's the story of the year right now. But 3-4 years ago, people weren't talking about Habib like that. It was just he's the boring wrestler. He's just going to get a 30-27.
It was.
But I mean, and seeing what those 2 guys did, especially Habib, I think Usman can get there, but he's going to have to get it took Habib a little bit of time. Now, look at his last 3 fights. I mean, how can you argue that? Just went out there and started smushing people and getting finishes. That's just what it is. I think Usman, this is a big test for him. If he goes out there and just puts on a masterful performance tonight, takes a step there, and then kind of what John Anik was talking about yesterday during his scrum, when you see the odds at minus 1,000 for a Kamaru Usman title fight, then you kind of get to see how the fans view him. Yeah. He gets that appreciation. There's no doubts. This dude's going to go in there and smush somebody.
The fans appreciate him at the betting table, at the betting booth, but in terms of just entertainment, hey, call your friends, hey guys, you want to come over and watch fights, or whatever. That's a different story, I think. But definitely for his actual skill set and getting his hand raised, yeah, a lot of appreciation in that sense. But
yeah.
But I'm glad you talked about Khabib. Go back in time real quick. Think of all the great fighters. They were mercilessly booed. Rashad Evans was hated by fans. I remember, I've gone to nights, but they were booing him off stage. Daniel Cormier, he was booed out of the building for Anderson Silva. He was booed out of the building for the Dan Henderson fight. There were many times I think they pretty much booed him when he beat Frank Mir. It was like boring. It was just like, yeah, you're right. Anderson Silva used to be hated by
himself.
fans.
Yeah, Anderson Silva himself. Talis Leites, Patrick Cote fight. Yeah,
it's a loop. We just keep going through it. Yeah.
Yeah, people need to read our own Guilherme Cruz's piece about the Anderson Silva front kick to Belfort to show how Anderson Silva was not even in Brazil was not the super popular fighter for the longest time. So this myth that he was always popular, I definitely think there's a hardcores who appreciate him, but this myth that he was always this beloved fan favorite is not accurate at all. And it did take, just like Anderson Silva, it did take time and the right opponents, Chael Sonnen, big credit to Chael Sonnen, to make him, again, sort of this really, really universally beloved fighter.
All right, so first walk is about to go down in about 3.5 minutes. But before we say goodbye and let you get to that, we gave our predictions for the co-main event. We didn't have a preview show where we actually gave picks. So it is time now to give our picks for the main event of the evening for the UFC welterweight title. AK Lee, we begin with you, sir. Who are you picking to get the belt wrapped around their waist at the end of the night?
And still, Usman, 4th round TKO. I'm just thinking he's going to wear Burns. I don't make these picks this specific, but I think he's going to wear Burns down. I think he's going to get him down in a disadvantageous position in the 4th round, and I think he's going to punch him out until the ref steps in. So, I'm going an Usman finish, and I think this is, kind of to play off that last question. I think this is maybe the beginning of people starting to appreciate Usman a little more, but we'll see. It'll take a lot of work, but a finish tonight will go a long way.
Casey.
I'm picking a dominant 50-44 for Kamaru Usman. Maybe Gilbert might win a round, maybe give like 50, 40, 49, 44. But Gilbert's clearly deserves this fight, a top contender. But Kamaru Usman's Kamaru Usman until someone shows me he's not. So I'm picking a dominant decision.
I waffled about this one for a while, but if you, AK, you guys have probably seen my pick on our little Slack page. I woke up this morning and I had a feeling. I had a weird feeling that something bizarre was going to happen. Kind of the same feeling I had prior to UFC 256 when Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno were about to fight for the flyweight title. I said something weird's going to happen tonight. There's this weird feeling in the air. And I sat back and I thought about how this fight was going to play out. And I agree with both of you, gentlemen. I think for 23 minutes and change, Kamaru Usman is going to dominate this fight. But I think Gilbert Burns is going to come out of nowhere in the 5th round and not just beat Kamaru Usman. He's going to put him away. He's going to submit him in the 5th round. And I have no technical expertise behind that, but sometimes in this life, you just can't be denied. No matter how big the obstacle, no matter how much of an underdog you may be, no matter how many people count you out, sometimes you just can't be denied. And I feel like tonight, Gilbert Burns is not going to be denied. Even though he's going to take a whooping to get there, Gilbert Burns is going to sneak away and have one of those wins where you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. I'm
Usman is Chael Sonnen in this situation. And Gilbert Burns is Anderson Silva. Is this what you're telling us, Mike Heck?
You think late submission?
Late 5th round submission for Gilbert Burns out of nowhere.
Clip it now. So clip it now. So
see,
he's on the record.
If that doesn't get you to buy this pay-per-view, you'd buy the damn pay-per-view.
I want the internet to know. I want the internet to know. I'm not saying that's impossible. So someone, I do the predictions for our site. Someone DM'd me, what are your 3 guarantees tonight's fight? And I said, that's a trick question. There's no such thing as a guarantee in MMA. So yes, Mike, crazier things have happened. Absolutely, 5th round submission. You know what? It's your world. It's your world.
Yeah, I just got that feeling deep down inside. Something weird's in the air, and it's a stormy night in Las Vegas, so that maybe it all comes together. But as you see, we are down to the 0.00. First walk's about to happen. A really good scrap is going to kick this thing off too, by the way. Gabe Green versus Phil Rowe. Phil Rowe, 6'4", 80-inch reach at 170 pounds, taking on an always fun scrapper in Gabe Green. That's going to be a good one. This could be the fight of the night right off the bat. So head on over.
Gabe Green.
Triple G.
Triple G
is fighting right now on ESPN Plus.
We can't. We can't. We're gonna get sued. We're gonna get sued.
Triple G.
Stop. We're gonna get sued.
They gifted Gabe Green. Who sued?
Gennady Golovkin is not fighting tonight. Don't use crystals. Okay. Sorry. I don't want to get sued. Please don't sue us.
All right. Head on over. Watch the fights. We'll see you on the other side. We'll go post-fight press conference, and then we'll have the post-fight show after as well. Banksy, AK. I am Mike Eck. Enjoy the fights, everybody. We'll see you on the other side.